Good morning, students. Today we'll start with the first chapter from second PUC syllabus, that is solids. In first PUC, we have already learned the concepts regarding with the states of matter, the different states of matter, and complete information regarding with the change in the states of matter from solid to liquid, liquid to gas. So further in this part, we'll just analyze the complete information regarding with the solids, what are its characteristics, types, as well as the classifications of solids and further physical properties of solids also. So already we know that the matter is nothing but anything which has space and occupies some anything which has definite mass and occupies some space is generally recognized as a matter. And there are three states of matter. One is called as solid, another one is called liquid, and the third one is called as gas, right? And we also know that there is an interconversion of the states of matter by changing the kinetic energy. That is nothing but changing the energy of the molecules. Whenever you supply energy, solid can convert into liquid, liquid can convert into gas, or it might be vice versa. That is, gas can be converted into liquid and liquid can be converted into solid. There are two types of that is endo as well as exo, right? So endo is within the system and exo, it is outgoing from the system, right? So due to the variations in the temperature, there is an interconversion in the states of matter. So here the most important and most initial thing here we have to study is the characteristics of solids, right? So solids will have certain characteristics. It has listed here. So one is fixed mass, or you can call it as a definite mass, and second one is a low intermolecular distance. Here you can observe this diagram. So since there is a compact arrangement of atoms, the intermolecular distance will be very less. You cannot observe any kind of the area between the atoms. So even if it is present in very negligible value or very less value, therefore we can call it as low intermolecular distance. Third important point is intermolecular forces are high, which means whenever you take a solid, so here in this solid, the arrangement of atoms is in such a way that the force of attraction between the two or more than two atoms will be very large. So therefore that is regarded as the rigidity of the molecule. So rigidity is nothing but the force with which they have attracted. That is generally called as intermolecular forces, which is generally high in case of solids. But if you go for the liquid can take the shape of any container, whatever the container you use. So liquid will take the shape of that container. The main reason is that the molecules are not tightly bonded, which means the intermolecular forces are very less when compared to solids in case of liquid. So here the main important thing is the intermolecular forces are high. So this can be considered as the rigid nature of the molecule. Fourth important point is, so this solid, it is made up of particles. These particles, it may be atoms also, it may be molecules also, or it may be ions also, right? So it is based on the type of the material which is made up of. It may be atom also, molecule also, or it may be ion also. And fifth important concept is the incompressible nature of the molecule. So incompressible is nothing but whenever you take a solid and you apply some pressure, so what happens? There will be breaking of the molecule, or there will be an cracking of the molecule. But that case cannot be observed in case of liquids as well as in case of gases. So here we'll do some rough work. So if you take a solid, so assume this is a solid and it is having the closed arrangement of atoms. So whenever there is an closed arrangement of atoms, so here incompressible nature means whenever you apply the force from any direction, it may be from any direction. So whenever you apply force, what happens? There is a chance of cracking of this molecule, or there is a chance of breaking of this molecule. So therefore this is called as incompressible nature of the or characteristics of the solid. So if you take a liquid, whenever you take a liquid in a container, so what happens? Here you can apply a pressure and you can make this liquid to settle at the bottom of the container. Similarly, in case of gaseous molecules also, if you take a gaseous molecules, here in this case what happens? The atoms are very loosely bonded and they can freely move to any directions. Whenever there is a movement of molecules in any direction, whenever you apply force, what happens? The gas molecules can be compressed in a certain area, within a short area. That is the difference between the solid, liquid as well as gaseous molecules, right? The solid molecules are highly incompressible. They cannot be compressed, right? So these are the 5 important characteristics of solids, right? So we will list once again. So the first important thing was, so these have the definite shape, or you can call it as definite mass also. So whenever there is a definite shape, it will having the definite mass, right? And second important thing is intermolecular forces are very high. Right? So the force of attraction between atoms is very high. And the third important thing is intermolecular distance, which means the distance between the atoms or the molecules, right? So intermolecular distance is less, or you can call it as a low. Intermolecular distance is low. And fourth one is it is highly incompressible in nature. It is highly incompressible in nature, right? So these are the 4 important I think we have missed one, that is fourth one, right? So it consists of particles, right? So these particles, it may be atoms, molecules as well as ions, right? So the particles which are present in case of solids, it may be atom also, it may be in the form of molecule also, or it may be in the form of ion also. So that is completely based on the type of the solid which is made up of. Further we will study in the classification of solids, right? So just remember, so these are the 5 important characteristics of solid. One is fixed or definite mass, or you can call it as definite shape also. Second one is low intermolecular distance. Third one is intermolecular forces are very high. And fourth one is the particles which may be present in the solid, they may be made up of atoms, they may be made up of molecules, or they may be made up of ions. And fifth one is it is the complete incompressible nature of the solid. So whenever you apply force, there is a chance of cracking or breaking, but you cannot make all the particles to settle at the certain minimum area, right? So that can be observed in case of liquids as well as gases. So further, the next concept in case of solids is types of solids, right? So generally there are 2 types of solids, right? So solids are classified into 2 types. So in that, first one is crystalline solid, and second one is amorphous solid. So first one is crystalline solid, second one is amorphous solid, right? So further we'll see what are the main differences between crystalline solid as well as amorphous solid, right? So in crystalline solid, what happens? These are also called as true solids, right? But the amorphous solids are called as pseudo solids, right? So in crystalline solids, what happens? The arrangement of atoms is a long range order, but in case of amorphous, there will be a short range order arrangement of atoms. And the third important difference is crystalline solids are definite and having the regular geometrical shape, right? So they will have a fixed shape. And in case of amorphous, what happens? They are having the irregular in shape. They are having irregular in shape. And crystalline solids, the main important thing is whenever there is a definite shape and definite arrangement of atoms, so it will be having sharp melting as well as boiling point. For example, if you take any temperature, so if the material A boils or melts at certain temperature, that is 35 degrees Celsius, it will exactly melt at 35 degrees Celsius. But in case of amorphous, what happens? Since there is a short range arrangement of atoms, that 25 degrees Celsius or 35 degrees, it will be within the range. There will be no exact value. So if it melts at 35, it might melt at 34.5 also, 34.6. So it's from point A to point B, like that, right? So here we have given the example. If the material A melts at 25 to 28, means it can melt at 25 also, 26 also, 27, like that. So it will be within the range. There is no any kind of exact melting and boiling point that cannot be observed for the amorphous solids. And last important difference is, so the crystalline solids are anisotropic in nature. This is very important difference. The crystalline solids are anisotropic in nature, but the amorphous solids are isotropic in nature. So here I will explain the difference, that is anisotropic and isotropic nature of the crystalline solids. So in case of crystallines as well as amorphous, the most important difference is the anisotropic nature of crystalline solids and isotropic nature of amorphous solids, right? So here anisotropic and isotropic is a phenomena, that is the refractive index of the material in all the different axes, x axis, y axis and z axis, that is 3 dimensional. If you take any solid, so here if I take a solid, so here if there is an arrangement of atom, so I can calculate the refractive index of the material in all the 3 directions. Here, that is, one is x axis, one is y axis and another one is z axis. So here whenever you observe the refractive index of the material in all the 3 directions, if it is same, it is called as iso means same, right? So if it is having same refractive index in all the directions, then it is called as amorphous solid. And if the different refractive index in case of the arrangement of atoms, then it is called as anisotropic nature, right? So this is the most important difference between the crystalline as well as amorphous solids, right? So we have mentioned here, once again we will see that one. So in case of crystalline, what happens? There is a regular arrangement. In case of amorphous, it is an irregular arrangement. In case of crystalline, it is having the fixed melting as well as boiling point, but in amorphous, the melting point and boiling point will be within the range. And in case of crystalline, what happens? There is a definite heat of fusion. Heat of fusion means the temperature required for mixing. So that will be the exactly the same value. But in case of amorphous, what happens? There is an no definite heat of fusion. It might be vary. So based on the environmental condition. In case of crystalline, the most important difference, as we have already explained, that is anisotropic nature. The refractive index is different in all directions. And in case of amorphous, what happens? These are isotropic in nature, and that is mainly due to the same refractive index in all the 3 axes. And one more difference is the long range arrangement. There is a continuity in the arrangement of atoms, but that continuity is missed in case of short range order, mainly in case of amorphous solid, right? So these are the some of the important differences between crystalline solid as well as amorphous solid, right? So we have learned 2 concepts. One is characteristics of the solid and second one is types of solid. There are 2 types of solids. One is crystalline solid, another one is amorphous. This is very important question which can be asked for 2 marks. So true solids, pseudo solids, definite and regular geometrical shape, irregular shape, sharp melting point and boiling point will be within the range, long range order, short range order, and anisotropic nature of the crystalline solids, and here it is the isotropic nature of the crystalline solids, right? So further we'll go with the next concept, that is different types of solids. Here you can observe the solids can be further, which means the complete explanation further is only regarding with the crystalline solid. We won't study any kind of amorphous solid in this chapter. The complete information further will study on the basis of crystalline solids only. So here in this case, if you observe, the further classification of crystalline solids can be done in 4 types, right? So these 4 types will explain the type of atom which is present in the solid and the type of bonding between the atoms and the example, suitable example for the different types of solids. Here you can observe the solids are further classified into 4 types. One is molecular solids, second one is ionic solids, third one is metallic solids, and fourth one is covalent or network types of solids, right? So here we will do some rough work here. The solids are again further classified on the basis of their arrangement of atoms or type of arrangement of atoms. Those are 4 types. So first one is called as molecular solids. Right? So in case of molecular solids, these are further classified into 3 types. So one is called as non-polar, second one is called as polar, third one is called as hydrogen bond, right? So the first type of crystalline solids, those are called as molecular solids. So here the molecular solids are further classified into 3 types. One is non-polar, second one is polar, and third one is hydrogen bonding, right? So in case of molecular solids, what happens? Basically in case of non-polar, so here the type of atoms are in the form of molecules. Here you can observe in the form of molecules. And basically in case of non-polar, what happens? If you take an example of H2 molecule, here hydrogen is bonded with hydrogen, which means there will be a partial positive charge on hydrogen and there will be a partial positive charge on one more hydrogen, which means the force of attraction here is the weak force, that is called as the London force. Since there is a force of attraction is very less between the like charged atoms, it is called as London force. This you have already studied in PUC1 also. And the molecules which are having the like charges, those are called as non-polar, and this is recognized as non-polar molecular crystalline solids, right? So the main heading is the types of crystalline solids, and here we can read this as non-polar molecular crystalline solids. This is the first one. Molecular solids are classified into further three types, sub-classification: non-polar, polar and hydrogen bonding. In case of non-polar, what happens? If you take like charged atoms, the force of attraction will be very less, and that is H2 molecule, there will be an London force. But in case of polar, what happens? If you take an example of HCl, in case of polar, if you take HCl, here hydrogen is partially positive charge and chlorine is partially negative charge, which means there will be a more force of attraction when compared with the H2 molecule. And here, since there is a polar nature, the force of attraction will be dipole-dipole interaction, right? So since it has two poles, we can call it as dipole. So therefore the force of attraction or the type of bonding whatever present there is called as a dipole-dipole interaction. But in case of hydrogen bonding, that is third type of molecular crystalline solids. So here the most important example is water molecule. If you take a water molecule H2, oxygen is bonded with the two hydrogen atom. Or even you can take the example of hydrogen fluoride. Hydrogen is bonded with the fluorine. Here you can observe there is an force of attraction between the hydrogen atom, which is positively charged, that is partial positive charge, and here it is having the partial negative charge, that is oxygen. So therefore we already know what is hydrogen bonding, the force of attraction between the hydrogen atom and more electronegative atom of the same or the another group, that is called as hydrogen bonding. So therefore in case of hydrogen bonding, water molecule is the best example, or you can take the example of hydrogen fluoride. So these three are the sub classification of molecular solids, and these are recognized as molecular crystalline solids. So the second type of classification of crystalline solids is called as ionic solids. So in case of ionic solids, generally these are ions. The particles which are present are ions, and the main thing which comes in our mind when we think about ions, so these are called as charged particles. These are called as charged particle, and the force of attraction between these molecules will be purely electrostatic in nature. It will be purely electrostatic in nature, or you can call it as a Coulombic, or you can call it as Coulombic force of attraction between the atoms. And you can take the example of NaCl. If you take NaCl, so whenever you split, it will convert into Na plus as well as Cl minus. So observe here. So in the above example, we have given that is delta plus and delta minus, which means this is the partial charge. But in case of ionic solid, what happens? There will be a complete separation of charge. Here we have not recognized with delta. We have completely recognized with positive as well as negative. Therefore, here the main difference between molecular solid and ionic solid is, in ionic solid there will be a complete recognition of charge. But in case of molecules, what happens? Molecular solids, there will be a partial recognition of the charge. So the best example is NaCl, or you can also take the example of KCl also. That will convert into K plus and Cl minus, right? So remember, the ionic solids are made up of ions, which are nothing but charged particle, and the force of attraction between them is purely electrostatic, or you can call it as the Coulombic nature of the ionic solids. Third one is metallic solids. Third type of solids is metallic solids, And generally, the metallic solids are made up of metallic ions, or you can call it as metal ions. These are made up of metal ions, and the force of attraction is metallic bonding. The type of bonding is metallic bonding. And if you take an example like iron, any kind of metal, or copper or silver, right? So here, whatever the atoms you take, suppose assume that this is an arrangement of atoms in case of solid. So here if you take iron, so these all are made up of Fe atoms, right? These all are made up of Fe atoms. Right? So iron, copper or silver. You can take any example. Fourth important classification of crystalline solids is covalent or network type of crystalline solids. Covalent, or you can call it as a network type. Right? So you can call it as covalent or network type of crystalline solids. So here the atoms are present, right? So which are having the covalently bonded. Right? So atoms are covalently bonded, or covalent bonding between the atoms, right? So if you take an example of diamond, right? Or you can take silicon dioxide, quartz. Quartz is the best example for covalent or network type of solids. So here what happens? So there will be an continuous arrangement of atoms in a particular pattern. You can observe like this. So it looks like a network, right? So this is an continuous arrangement of atom, right? So these atoms, right? So these atoms, in between these atoms, the force of attraction will be covalent bonded, right? So here if you observe, this is covalent bond, this is covalent bond, right? So like this. So the bond between these atoms is covalent bonding. So therefore diamond and silicon dioxides are the best example regarding with the covalent or network type of bond, right? So here the main thing we have to remember in this concept or in this type of different types of crystalline solids is, first one is you must understand what is the type of atom present in it. What is the type of atom present in it? Second one is you must remember what is the type of bonding in case of these solids. And third one is you must remember the suitable example. Right? So the three things which I have explained here. Right? So in molecular solids there are three types. One is non-polar, second one is polar, and third one is hydrogen bonding. In non-polar, best example is H2 molecule, and the force of attraction is London force. In polar, the best example is hydrogen chloride, and the force of attraction is dipole-dipole interaction. And in third one, the best example, that is hydrogen bonding, the force of attraction between the hydrogen and more electronegative. So therefore here the best example is water molecule, or you can take the example of hydrogen fluoride. The second important classification is ionic solids, and these are also called as charged particles because these are ions, and the force of attraction here is electrostatic or purely Coulombic in nature, and NaCl or KCl is the best example. Third one, in case of metallic solids what happens? So there is a metallic bonding, so which are nothing but the metal ions. So therefore if you take an example of Fe, copper or any kind of metal, the arrangement will be made up of same kind of atoms. Fourth one is covalent or network type of bonding, and here due to the covalent bonding, so diamond is the best example regarding with the covalent or network type of solid, or you can take the example of silicon dioxide or quartz also, right? So once again we'll see what we have learned today. The first important thing we have learned is the characteristics of solid. So there are 4 to 5 important characteristics. One is it is having the definite shape as well as definite mass. Intermolecular force is very high, intermolecular distance is very less, and the mainly solids are incompressible in nature. And fifth one is the particles may be atoms, molecules as well as ions also. Further, if you classify the solids into two types, one is crystalline solid, another one is amorphous solids. We have seen some differences between the crystalline solids and amorphous solids. First one is true solids in crystalline, and in case of amorphous it is the pseudo solid. Second one is crystalline solids are having the definite and regular geometrical shape, but amorphous are having irregular in shape. Third one is the sharp melting and boiling point can be seen in crystalline, but there is no any kind of sharp melting point, or the melting point and boiling point will be in the range. And these are long range order crystalline, and amorphous are short range order. And the most important difference we have seen is crystalline solids are anisotropic in nature, which means there is different refractive index in different axis, that is x axis, y axis and z axis, but in amorphous are isotropic in nature, which are having same refractive index. So further we have studied the crystalline solids can be classified into 4 different types: molecular, ionic solids, metallic solids, as well as covalent or network type of solids. Okay? So go through this video once again. If you have any doubts, please ask me. So I will send the notes to your WhatsApp also. Thanks for joining. We'll continue in the next class.